The sand goes on forever, and I mean forever. I'm standing at the edge of the longest beach on planet Earth, 150 miles of uninterrupted coastline, and I'm about to cross it on foot. This is Praia do Cassino, in the far south of Brazil, near the border with Uruguay. It holds the Guinness World Record, and trust me, when you see it in person, you understand why no other beach even comes close. Most travelers in Brazil never make it this far south. They stick to Rio, the Amazon, maybe Florianopolis. But down here in Rio Grande do Sul, the landscape changes completely. This is cowboy country meets the Atlantic. The name Cassino comes from the old casino that used to stand here in the 1930s, back when this was a glamorous beach resort. That world is gone now. What remains is raw, windswept, and humbling. I started the crossing at the Molhe Oeste lighthouse, the official northern tip of the beach. The plan was simple: walk south for days, camp on the sand, and see how far I could push before the wind or the solitude broke me. Here's what shocked me first: the wind. It's relentless, constant, cold even in summer. It comes off the South Atlantic with nothing to stop it, pushing straight into your face, turning every step into a small act of resistance. The second thing you notice is the emptiness. On a typical day, you can walk for an hour and not see another human being. Just you, the waves, and the horizon that never seems to get closer. The sand here is different too. It's pale, almost white in some stretches, and firm when it's wet from the tide. That firmness is what makes the crossing possible. Walk on dry sand, and you'll exhaust yourself in an hour. By day 2, I understood something crucial. This beach doesn't care about you. There's no shade, no fresh water, no shelter. If you didn't bring it with you, you're not getting it. That's the deal. I carried everything in a 40-liter pack: tent, sleeping bag, 3 liters of water, freeze-dried meals, first aid kit, and a water filter. Weight became my enemy and my security at the same time. The dunes here are massive, some reaching 30 feet high, covered in tough beach grass that looks like it's been fighting the wind for centuries. They shift constantly. Maps are useless after a big storm. The wildlife caught me off guard. Ghost crabs the size of dinner plates emerge at dusk, scuttling sideways across the sand like something out of a sci-fi movie. They're harmless, but unsettling in the dark. Seabirds own this coast. I saw black skimmers slicing the surface of the water with their lower beaks, kelp gulls dive-bombing fish, and once, a pair of southern giant petrels gliding overhead like silent bombers. Then there are the shipwrecks. Rusted hulls and broken masts jutting from the sand like grave markers. Some are decades old, slowly being devoured by salt and time. They're beautiful and haunting in equal measure. I passed 3 major wrecks on my route. The most famous is the Altair, a cargo ship that ran aground in the 1970s. Local fishermen use it as a landmark. It's become part of the landscape now. Camping on the beach itself is tricky. The tide comes in fast, and if you pitch your tent too close to the waterline, you'll wake up swimming. I learned to find spots behind the first line of dunes. The first night under the stars was overwhelming. No light pollution for miles. The Milky Way stretched across the sky so clearly I could see the dust lanes with my naked eye. I'd never seen darkness like that. The sound of the ocean at night is different when there's nothing else competing with it. It's not background noise, it's the entire world. Every wave crash feels like it's happening inside your chest. By day 3, I hit a rhythm. Wake at sunrise, pack the tent while coffee brews on my camp stove, walk until midday, rest in the shade of the dunes, then push again until the light starts to fade. I started noticing patterns in the sand. Trails left by beetles, the delicate tracework of sandpipers, and once, what I'm pretty sure were jaguar tracks leading down to the water. That one made me pause. Before you worry, jaguar sightings on the beach are incredibly rare. They stick to the inland forests and wetlands. But knowing they're near, that the wilderness is real, changes how you feel about being alone out there. Around Kilometer 40, I reached the first fishing village. A handful of weathered houses, boats pulled up on the sand, nets drying in the sun. The fishermen looked at me like I'd arrived from another planet. One older fisherman offered me fresh grilled corvina, caught that morning. I sat on a plastic chair in the sand, eating the best fish I'd ever tasted, while he told me stories about storms that wiped houses away. He said the beach had been growing longer over the decades, that the sand was slowly advancing into the ocean. I asked why. He shrugged and said, "The ocean does what it wants. Can't argue with that." Leaving the village felt harder than I expected. Those few hours of human contact reminded me how much energy solitude takes. Not physical energy, emotional. You have to keep yourself company, and that's exhausting. The further south I walked, the wilder it got. Fewer footprints, more driftwood, tangles of kelp the size of small cars. The beach was reclaiming itself, erasing any evidence that humans had ever been there. On day 4, a storm rolled in from the south. I watched it approach for an hour, a wall of black cloud moving up the coast. When it hit, the rain was horizontal, driven by wind so strong I had to crouch. I couldn't pitch the tent in that. Instead, I wrapped myself in my rain gear, sat in the lee of a dune, and waited. 2 hours. The cold seeped into my bones, and I started questioning every decision that led here. Then the storm passed as suddenly as it arrived. The clouds broke, sunlight poured through, and the entire beach turned gold. Steam rose from the wet sand. It was one of the most beautiful things I've ever witnessed. I pitched the tent on a high dune that night, cooked my freeze-dried dinner, and watched the sun set over the pampas to the west. The ocean roared behind me. I felt completely, perfectly alive. By kilometer 70, my body had adapted. My feet stopped hurting, my shoulders adjusted to the pack weight, and my mind settled into a kind of walking meditation. Time stopped meaning much. I started thinking about what long really means. In our world, long is a Netflix series or a road trip. Out here, long is something your body has to earn, one step at a time, with no shortcut. I passed sections where the beach narrowed to just 30 feet between the dunes and the surf. When the tide was high, I had to time my passage between wave sets or risk getting soaked. Felt like a video game. Then there were stretches where the beach widened to over 300 feet. You could land a plane on it easily. In fact, I'm pretty sure people have. The sand is that firm when it's compacted. I met a group of Uruguayan surfers camped out in a VW van at kilometer 90. They'd driven down from Punta del Este chasing a swell. The waves here can be massive, they said, especially in winter. They offered me mate, the traditional South American herbal tea passed in a gourd. It was bitter, grassy, and exactly what I needed. We sat and watched the sun drop into the Atlantic, barely talking. They told me the beach continues all the way to the border with Uruguay, and technically even beyond that, but the name changes. I asked if anyone had walked the entire thing. They laughed and said, "Maybe you'll be the first." On day 6, I realized I'd stopped checking my phone. There was no signal most of the time anyway, and honestly, I didn't care. The beach had its own clock: sunrise, midday heat, sunset, darkness. I started to understand why people say long-distance walking changes you. It's not dramatic, it's cumulative. Every day strips away a little more noise until what's left is just you and the landscape. Around kilometer 100, I hit a section littered with jellyfish. Thousands of them washed up and dying in the sun. Portuguese man-o'-war with their blue tentacles glowing in the light. Beautiful and deadly. I stepped carefully around them, boots crunching on the sand. The ocean was testing me again, reminding me that this place is not a theme park. Respect it, or it will hurt you. By day 7, I'd walked over 110 kilometers. My original plan was to turn back at kilometer 100, but I kept pushing. The horizon kept pulling me forward, whispering just a little further. I started seeing things that weren't there. Shapes in the dunes that looked like people. Sounds that might have been voices, not hallucinations exactly, more like my brain trying to fill the emptiness with something familiar. On the 8th day, I decided to turn around. Not because I had to, but because I'd proven what I came to prove. That this beach is real, that it's as long as they say, and that crossing it changes you. The walk back felt faster, not because it was shorter, but because I knew what to expect. I wasn't discovering anymore, I was remembering. The shipwrecks, the dunes, the fishing village, the lighthouse. When I finally saw the Molhe Oeste lighthouse again, I felt something unexpected. Sadness. I didn't want it to end. The beach had become home in a way that no house ever had. It was simple out there. Total distance walked, just over 220 kilometers. 15 days, counting rest and storm delays. My pack felt lighter at the end, even though nothing had changed except me. So, can you do this? Honestly, yes. You don't need to be an athlete or a survival expert. You need decent gear, respect for the environment, and the willingness to be uncomfortable for days at a time. Best time to go is late spring or early autumn, September through November or March through May. Summer is brutally hot with no shade, and winter storms can be dangerous. Getting there, fly into Porto Alegre, the capital of Rio Grande do Sul, then take a bus to Rio Grande City. From there, local buses run to Praia do Cassino. The whole trip from Porto Alegre takes about 5 hours. Budget for the crossing itself is surprisingly low. Camping is free, food is what you bring, and the only real expense is gear if you don't already own it. Figure around $300 total if you're frugal. Safety-wise, the biggest risks are dehydration, sunburn, and getting caught in a storm without shelter. Violent crime is virtually non-existent out here. You're more likely to be injured by a jellyfish than another human. There's something profound about walking a beach that goes on for 150 miles. It breaks your sense of scale. It teaches you that the world is bigger than your feed, your inbox, your routine. It also teaches you that Brazil is not just Carnival and Rio and the Amazon. It's gaucho culture, Atlantic storms, fishing villages that time forgot, and coastlines that stretch beyond what your eyes can hold. If you're planning a trip to Brazil and you want something that isn't on every travel blog, Praia do Cassino is your answer. It's the anti-Instagram destination. It's real, it's hard, and it's unforgettable. I left a part of myself on that beach. Maybe it's still out there, walking the shoreline at night, listening to the waves, watching the stars. Some journeys don't end when you come home. If this video made you see Brazil differently, if it made you curious about places you'd never heard of, that's exactly why I make these. Hit subscribe so YouTube shows this to more travelers who are ready for the real thing. Thanks for walking this beach with me. Brazil is bigger than you think, wilder than the guides admit, and waiting for travelers brave enough to step off the beaten path. I'll see you on the next journey.